All right, as requested, I am going to tell you everything that I wish I knew when it comes to using a crutch. And I am even gonna share some fun ways at the end of this video of using a crutch, because when you're injured, you gotta just find things at home to have fun with. Okay, so just to let you know, I am not fully weight bearing, which means I can't really put my entire weight on my right injured leg. Before I get into showing you actually how to use your crutch, there are a few essential tips to do before even using it. The first one is to have someone help you make sure that your surrounding is safe. And what I mean by that is that make sure there's enough room. So think of like a wheelchair going through your space. There should be enough room everywhere. Make sure if there's any slippery areas, like mats that aren't staying in place, if you're planning to be bare feet at home, make sure that there's no small pieces of glass, which by the way, totally happened to me. There was some really sharp, tiny thing that went into my foot when I was using my crutch, and I was in pain and it was terrible. So make sure to have someone really vacuum and mop everything to make sure that there's nothing that you might step on, especially when you have one leg. It's not very helpful. So yeah, number one is to really make sure that your space is a safe place for your crutches. And whenever you go into a new environment, outside or anywhere, you have to be extra careful, because when I left my condo, the cleaning person was just mopping the hallway, and oh my god, it was so dangerous. I could have almost fell and injured myself again, and you do not want to injure yourself again. That's like the worst thing to happen. So like since then, I've been super careful. Every time I leave, I make sure that someone is with me and making sure that they're close to me in case I fall, because the floor, you just don't know if it's slippery and can be really dangerous. Crutches aren't really the best in wet environments, so if it's raining or anything, I would just avoid going out. Another thing I've found really helpful is using like yoga grippy socks. There's like socks with a bunch of grip underneath it. Makes me feel more stable when I'm moving around. I mean, you can obviously wear shoes indoors if you want. It's just not my preference to wear shoes indoors, but it's probably more safe if you're planning to move around and do a lot at home. I do have these grippy sandals that slide in. However, even though sandals are more convenient, I don't know if I would recommend it as the safest option for you, but you do you. This is not medical advice. This is just from my personal experience. Another thing I wish I knew is to make sure to take breaks and don't overdo it, because most of your weight will be on the other leg. It's going to take a toll. Like my left side, my non-injured side is starting to really get tired. My knee, I'm feeling it in my knee. So make sure to take breaks. And yeah, don't overdo it, because you're gonna get exhausted. Another thing which I don't have, which I'll show you, but I actually don't have the right size crutch for my height, because I'm borrowing my friends and I'm planning to borrow another friend's because it's shorter. So my crutch is actually a little bit unsafe because it's a bit taller for my size. So ideally, when you're standing up and your crutch is straight, you should have like, I would say like 3 fingers until your armpit hits. But right now my armpit directly hits this top area, which is not ideal, because this crutch, I'm 5 feet by the way, and that's like, I don't know, 153 centimeters or something like that. It actually has the height on here, so it says 5'2", 5'3", 5'4" on this thing. You can move it up and down, but this is taller than my height. I'm not even 5'2", so I clearly don't have the right height. And I mean, this is just a reference. I would still make sure, to make sure that it's like a few fingers below your armpit, so it's not like on your armpit because there's a bunch of nerves there. When I first started using crutches, I didn't know how to use it, and I was leaning my armpit onto this, which is something you do not do. Do not do that. So if your first time, it's gonna take some time to get used to, but you're actually using more of your pressure on your hands and your arms, and you're not leaning on it with the armpit. Do not lean your weight on the crutch with the armpit. It is more of your hands and your arms that is doing most of the work. Another thing you'll soon realize that's really hard is that you can't really pick anything up or move anything around your place when you're using your crutches because you're occupied with your two hands. And so that was a tricky thing for me to navigate on how to do that. So my biggest tip for you when it comes to trying to move things around while having crutches on is to have a fanny pack or a bag, like a small bag, because it's going to be tiring if you're carrying a backpack everywhere, like a cute little fanny pack where you can put your phone or anything that you want to bring around. I also have a chair that has wheels, although before I talk about this, there is some dangers when it comes to this. But yeah, I did get a chair with wheels, and I do have a wagon, a Costco wagon, where I toss things and push around because, yeah, it's really hard to move things with crutches on. I do have to warn you about chairs with wheels. They can be awesome for just moving around in that space that you have, but depending on how stable your chair is, it actually could be really dangerous. The chair that I have, I got it $5 off Facebook Marketplace. It's not the most stable rolly chair. So what happened was I was near the edge of the chair and leaning down to grab something, and because most of my weight was in front of that chair, it actually fell and I fell on the ground. Thank God it was really like its lowest setting, so I wasn't very far from the ground, but that was so dangerous. So yeah, be careful with actually trying to reach down for anything. Like with a roller chair, you want to be able to stay center into the chair and like move as you can, but I wouldn't shift your weight because if the wheel like slightly tilts, you might fall and hurt yourself. Don't do what I did, okay? But they can be really useful because it's easier to move around when things roll. Okay, let's talk about actually moving around with your crutch, and maybe I will put a video on top of here because I'm just sitting and talking right now. But what you want to do is make sure you have good posture. So like a lot of people are like leaning into this thing. You want to still make sure you have good posture. I kind of try to flex my back muscles a little bit just so that, might as well work some part of my muscles. You want to have it slightly above your hips and in front of you. So when you move, you're imagining that your crutch is your injured leg, okay? So it's gonna move in front of you like your injured leg would if it was not injured, and then you're gonna hop with the other leg, okay? And the strength comes from not leaning onto your armpit. It comes from straightening and having just like a slight bend on your arm. So when you first start, you can go slowly and have little hops, but as you get better, you kind of start to get a hang of it. You can have more of kind of like a swing-ish motion that makes it easier to get around places faster, but always start slow until you get comfortable because it is not worth it to hurt yourself again. And you can also adjust the arm length on these crutches. I'm really short, so I'm at the lowest setting, and even with these lowest settings, this crutch is way too big for me, unfortunately. So I've been, as a result, feeling it more in my shoulders and things. So I definitely need to switch these off soon, but I don't got any extended health care. I just got friends and people to try to borrow things from, which is the tough part. So I'm using what I can with this equipment, but it's not ideal for my size. So when I get up, I like to put my crutches on my injured side. Okay, so they're just like straight up on my injured side. And then with my left hand, if you have an arm rest, it's much easier, but I'm just gonna use the bottom of this chair. And what you do is you can rest your arms on here, but you're mostly pushing forward and up with your other arm. Okay, so you plant your good feet down, push up, and there you go. I'm up, and then you will slowly, it's not the greatest view here, slowly move it towards you, and so you can see this is way too high for my armpit, but there you go. There you go. You're ready to go. And then sitting back down, I again move it towards the side, my injured side. I hold onto the handles down here. Slowly put my arm and leg down. Ooh. Rest. Another cool trick, if you're like sitting on a couch or something, or you have extra space, you can actually turn the crutch upside down, lean it on the couch or whatever, or the handrest, and then you can actually lift your leg and rest it on it if you want to rest it on rest it on something elevated. You can actually use the bottom of this part as a rest area for your leg. There are so many fun ways you can use this. I use this to press buttons. So when I'm in the washroom and I need to turn off the light switch, I will use this instead of my arm because it's too much effort to go all the way there. You can also use your crutch as a workout tool. Since you can't work out your lower body or move very much with the low bar, you could do some bicep curls. What else can you do? You could do some triceps right here, triceps, arm up. You could also even do just shoulder presses. Okay, it's not bad. I mean, it is light, but mind muscle connection as long as you really try. You could do front raises. It's pretty fun. See so many fun ways to use your crutch. And then you could even do a row, lean slightly forward, squeeze your back, squeeze your back. So lots of ways you can use your crutch, and if you're even mad, you can even punch it, get some of that anger out, or you can hug it, lean towards it. Hope that was helpful. Those are all the tips that I can think of right now. Oh, obviously don't do that. The other thing I do find that's annoying is that it like tends to fall really easily when you lean onto things. So my recommendations when it comes to leaning or like putting away the crutch while you're doing something for a moment is to lean it where there's grip. So obviously if you lean it towards a corner of something, that's going to be the easiest thing. But if you just lean it towards like a cabinet, but it's on the slippery part, it's going to like fall down. So you want to just make sure to get the grippy part onto contact with something else. You could even like put one through each other like this, place on the ground, and like lean one towards it. Yeah, you kind of just figure it out over time, but at first, this thing kept falling all the time and it was really annoying. Another tip I forgot to mention is strategically having chairs around in certain areas so that you can really take a break from standing up on your leg. So I have a chair in my washroom, so when I'm brushing my teeth and doing things, I can sit down. I have a chair in my kitchen, so when I'm washing the dishes, I'm also sitting down. Yeah, the chairs I have are like higher chairs. They're kind of like bar stools. You can see here the chair. It's kind of like this. And the higher ones are pretty helpful because I am basically like I'm standing, but I'm sitting, right? Versus like a really short hair it would be hard to wash the dishes with a really low. I'd probably have to stand up. So yeah, these high stools I've found really, really helpful. If you have any other questions or any other things you would like me to show you, I can show you. I am not a pro. I am just learning from experience here.